What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to Not Your Average Meta, an MTG Commander channel dedicated to bringing you decks and commanders you wouldn't normally find in your average meta. This week's video is brought to you by our new channel sponsor, International MTG. If you're looking for competitive pricing on your favorite MTG cards, old and new, be sure to check out the International MTG store and TCG Player, link in the description of this video. This week on Not Your Average Meta, we have another fun 4-way showdown featuring this season's first appearance of Martin, the werewolf guy. First up, we have Martin switching things up from werewolves by bringing his vampire deck to the table, which is led by Strefan, Maurer Progenitor. This is a modified precon deck built around abusing Strefan and his ability to make blood tokens and cheat vampires into play. Then we have Gavin attempting to be the ultimate nut collector playing Chatterfang, Squirrel General. This deck is looking to go wide with squirrel tokens and pump them up enough to overrun his opponents. Next, we have Fog Raw returning playing his favorite upgraded precon, Leinore Autumn Sovereign. This is a human tribal deck based around distributing +1/+1 counters to each of his creatures in order to enable the Coven mechanic. Lastly, we have our first ninja sighting of the year with Justin coming back to the table piloting Yuriko the Tiger Shadow. This deck looks to deal damage with his unblockable ninjas in order to take his opponents out by flipping into high CMC cards off the top of his library. Now that we have our fighters, let's step into the Thunderdome and see which deck will come out on top. Turn 1, Martin plays a command tower. Gavin plays a forest, then taps 1 for Squirrel Sanctuary, creating a 1/1 squirrel token. Fog draws, plays the plains, and passes. Justin draws, plays Shizo Death Storehouse. Martin plays a mountain for turn, then taps 2 for Stormfist Crusader. Gavin draws and plays another forest before tapping enough to become public enemy number 1 by casting Earthcraft. He then claims he's not a combo player anymore and swings a squirrel at Fog for 1. Fog draws, plays a forest, and then passes. Justin plays an island for turn, then taps 2 for Dimir Infiltrator. On Martin's upkeep, everybody loses 1 life and draws a card. Martin then draws for turn and plays a swamp. He then swings his Crusader at Gavin for 2 damage, after which he taps 2 for Vermin Gorger. Gavin draws and taps 2 forests before untapping a forest by tapping a squirrel token to cast his commander Chatterfang. Fog just draws and plays another plains, passing. Justin draws and plays a swamp. He then swings his unblockable Infiltrator at Martin before ninjutsuing in his commander Yuriko. Before damage is dealt, Fog uses Swords to Plowshares in order to exile Yuriko, having Justin gain a life. On Martin's upkeep, everybody loses 1 life and draws a card. Martin then draws for turn and plays a swamp. He then goes to combat swinging 1 creature apiece at Fog and Justin. After damage, he then pays 4 and casts his commander Strefan, and goes to his end step getting 4 blood tokens. Gavin draws and plays a swamp before tapping 3 for Tireless Provisioner. He then taps his token to untap a forest and cast Gilded Goose, giving him a food token and another squirrel token. Gavin then taps 2 more creatures to untap 2 more lands and then casts Bitter Blossom. Fog draws and plays another plains. He then unselfishly pays 4 to save the rest of the table and exiles Earthcraft with Ruinous Intrusion. Justin draws for turn and plays a Clearwater Pathway before recasting his Dimir Infiltrator. On Martin's upkeep, everybody loses 1 life and draws a card. Martin then draws for turn and remembers to show off all of his blood tokens. He then goes to combat swinging a creature at each of his opponents. On attack, he sacks 2 of his blood tokens to activate Strefan and puts a Westgate Regent into play, attacking Justin. Nobody blocks and everyone takes their damage. Martin then casts Glass Cast Heart, and at the end of his turn gets 4 more blood tokens. On his upkeep, Gavin loses a life and creates a fairy token and a squirrel token. He then draws and plays a Fabled Passage for turn, getting another treasure and another squirrel. He then cracks the passage to go get another forest, giving him more treasures and more squirrels, before he casts Cultivate, going to get another forest and adding to his collection of tokens. Gavin then casts Acorn Harvest, getting 4 more squirrel tokens. Fog plays a forest for turn, then taps 4 for Shalai Voice of Plenty, and then another forest for Avacyn's Pilgrim. Justin draws and plays a tapped Temple of Deceit, scrying a card to the bottom of his library. He then casts Spy Network to look at Martin's hand. Justin looks at his top 4 cards of his library and puts them back in any order. He then swings his Infiltrator at Martin again before ninjutsuing in Yuriko. After damage, he reveals his top card, dealing 8 damage to each opponent. On his end step, Martin pays life to create a vampire token. On Martin's upkeep, everybody loses 1 life and draws a card. Martin then draws for turn and plays Evolving Wilds. He then sacks a blood token to draw a card, then sacks another blood token to draw another card. Martin then goes to combat and strategically determines which vampires to send at which opponents. After he decides where everyone is attacking, he casts Vampiric Fury to pump up all his vampires +2/+0, and everybody takes their damage. On his upkeep, Gavin loses his life and creates a fairy token and a squirrel token. He then plays a swamp, getting another squirrel and a treasure token, before casting Overrun to pump up his board. He then goes to combat and mathematically plans out which squirrels need to attack where in order to optimize the amount of damage he's going to be outputting. Gavin then takes out Martin and Justin with combat damage and leaves Fog at 4 life. Fog then doesn't draw into an answer and concedes the game to the Squirrel King. Alright Gavin, so how does it feel to get your first win of the season with a bunch of squirrels?
I'm back, I'm hotter than ever. Speed, violence, momentum, that's all I bring to the table here. So I'm 1-2 for the season, and my stats are already looking better than last year after 11 games. So
Technically 1-1.
1-1, excuse me. 500. You know, math.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can see more games and decks you wouldn't normally see in your average meta.